All right, today I'm going to do a report on various subjects from Russia to the ISIS and other information that you may be or may not be aware of. I'm sure many of you know that ISIS did behead another British citizen today, and that really is the strength of their terror network. They're really not as powerful as people like to think they are. Really, truthfully speaking, they've been rated second to Al-Qaeda, and they'll continue to be rated second to Al-Qaeda, but they have the gruesome pictures and videos of beheadings that has given people the false assumption that they are more powerful than Al-Qaeda and more of a threat worldwide than Al-Qaeda. But the truth of the matter is every analysis I've ever read indicates that Al-Qaeda is still far greater and far stronger than and more of a threat to U.S. interests and Western interests than ISIS ever was. But the one mistake that ISIS made was that they have displayed these blatant videos around the world, and that has brought to the forefront their message to every Western nation that's out there. And they've done this in a very public manner. And in doing so, I believe they pretty much sealed their doom, eventual doom anyway, because you basically have the United States, the United Kingdom, Turkey, and a number of other nations, major nations, that are now participating in destroying this cancer once and for all. Now, frankly, I think they're going to have boots on the ground before it's actually accomplished. Airstrikes, for somewhat, are going to do somewhat of a job, but the truth of the matter is I think in time that the U.S. and Britain and a few others are going to have to actually place boots on the ground and to coordinate this at a more personal level. And even the latest Stratfor report says the United Kingdom, Denmark, and the Netherlands and Australia have all made decisions to bolster the international fight against the Islamic State militant group in Iraq. So this simply can't be good news for ISIS. That's all there is to it. They simply don't have the manpower nor the military strength in order to overcome these nations. Despite what the major media circuits would have you believe, ISIS days are numbered. But don't think for a minute that they haven't done their job. Their job, basically, as far as Bible prophecy is concerned, was to unite the Middle East along with Western nations, enemies, some of them anyway, together to fight against this common enemy. And I'm sure many in the prophetic world believe that ISIS is going to prove to turn out to be some significant player in the future of Bible prophecy. But the truth of the matter is what ISIS will prove to be is a uniting factor of the Middle East with the West. And with that, I believe the U.S. is going to get in bed with both Iran and eventually Syria. I certainly do not see al-Assad falling anytime soon, and especially if he proves to be a big cooperative factor in the destruction of ISIS. And I do look for the United States to water down what Iran will have to do in order to appease the Western world as far as their nuclear program in exchange for playing a major part in destroying ISIS as well. And certainly it will be at the expense of Israel. But as I said in one of my last videos, is that the U.S. no longer needs Israel, as demonstrated by a recent poll. So what their interest is right now is the destruction of ISIS. And if they have to get in bed with both Iran and Syria in order to do that, that's what they'll do. And if they have to betray Israel in the process, well, so be it. Now on to the second part of what I wanted to talk to. And this is a major problem that Russia is going to have in the very near future. And that is in a recent geopolitical diary by Stratfor Global Intelligence, the title of the article is Oil Prices Continue to Define Geopolitics. And what the article has to say, it says the global oil benchmark Brent crude fell Thursday to about $92 per barrel before rebounding to finish the day at around $94 per barrel, the lowest price since mid-2012. The latest sell-off follows one of the sharpest declines in a quarter in recent years, in which the price of oil slid about 16%. It may be premature to forecast sustained international oil prices lower than $90 per barrel, but if the price of oil remains close to where it is now, many oil exporting countries will feel the pain after basing their budgets on previous price expectations. Meaning that many countries around the world based their financial budgets on what they think the price of oil is going to be. And certainly one of those countries is Russia. In order for them to survive, they have to have sustainable and increasing oil prices. A prolonged drop in the oil prices would be devastating, especially since Russia is being hit now by U.S. and European sanctions. And simply put, it's hitting them very hard. And here's what the article has to say. It says the first and most important consequence of lower oil prices is the effect it will have on the ongoing struggle between Russia and the West. Energy commodities dominate the Russian economy, particularly its exports. Any sustained drop in oil prices would directly impact the country's export revenues, and Russia's GDP would take a significant hit. The Kremlin's 2014 budget was based on oil prices averaging $117 per barrel for most of the year, with the exception of prices of $90 per barrel in the fourth quarter. For 2015, however, the budget has been pegged at $100 per barrel after much debate within the Russian leadership. While Moscow has significant financial reserves and can run a budget deficit if need be, finance ministry officials have estimated that lower oil prices could shave off 2% of Russia's GDP. Although Russia has been able to weather the effects of U.S. and EU sanctions thus far for its actions in Ukraine, the restrictions have already led some firms, such as Rosneft, to ask for financial assistance from the country's National Wealth Fund. A reduction in oil prices and in turn lower revenues for Russia's budget will constrain the Kremlin's ability to support Russian businesses hurt by the sanctions the longer they are in place. So what this means is that Russia is in a world of hurt if it cannot either get the sanctions relieved by the West and also the European Union with a combination of lower oil prices. They could quickly see their government going into a time of serious recession, and I believe that as time goes on, this combination of sanctions and also the reduction of oil prices it could possibly cause Russia to bring about a regional war, preferably in the Middle East, where oil prices would then skyrocket. And you got to ask yourself, is this going to be the reason behind why Russia attacks Israel in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 scenario? Will it be a desperate move in order to get oil prices to, at some point in time, skyrocket so that it can relieve their debt and raise their revenues to a level that they expected it to be? And certainly if I were the Russian president and much of my budget was based upon the price of oil, I would do whatever it took to manipulate the price of oil to the point to where I could survive. And I'm sure many are saying, well, would a president really cause a war, a regional war in the Middle East just for the purpose of raising the price of oil so that he could survive and that his government could survive? Frankly, I don't doubt for one minute that Mr. Putin is above that. I believe that if it came down to that, I believe that he would challenge the West so that his nation could meet its financial obligations. So I don't think there's any question that he would cause a Middle East war to come about in order to cause the price of oil to skyrocket. And if you know anything about the pricing of oil, you know that the minute something like this happened, that the price of oil would just balloon in a very short amount of time. So we're definitely going to have to keep our eye on what's happening in this situation. Even though the Russian government does have a sizable reserve, a prolonged drop in oil prices and also the bombardment and continued pressure of sanctions both by the European Union and the West could force Mr. Putin to do some things that he normally would not do. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this situation and see what happens and all. But if you don't know the Lord today, today your time is running out. 150,000 people die every single day. The vast majority, the Bible says, will end up in a burning hell. Don't let that happen to you. You can accept the Lord today, and you can be assured of a home in heaven. And you could be living out your last chance in order to do that. Don't put it off. Accept Jesus today. Well, this is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.